Hello, hello. Welcome everybody to the LiveWell Action Alliance podcast. We are so excited to be in the building. My name is Chantel Taylor and I'm with my beautiful co-host,
Tonya Phillips.
And I'm Sarah Wise. Welcome, everyone.
Woo-hoo.
Welcome, welcome. And we have the Tonya Winters with us as our special guest. We are so excited to talk to her today. We're going to be diving into parent advocacy and her journey in this work. But before we do that, I would like to read a quick little bio about the Tonya Winters. So Tonya B. Winters is a mother, published author, public speaker, veteran educator, and community connector with over 20 years of experience in education, policy, and organizational strategy. As the founder of LB Winters Consulting, she partners with mission-driven leaders to develop bold, equity-driven strategies, facilitate leadership growth and team development, design culturally responsive community engagement plans, and advocate for policies that impact real families and communities. A proud graduate of Clark Atlanta University,
CAUA.
the illustrious Clark Atlanta University, with a degree in mass media communications. Tonya blends professional expertise with deep lived experiences, showing up authentically in boardrooms, classrooms, and grassroots spaces alike. She currently serves as a registered lobbyist in the state of Georgia, using her voice to uplift those too often excluded from decision-making tables. Tonya is the proud mother of 3 amazing young adult sons and prides herself with the ability to be able to view her work through their lens. So welcome, Tonya. How you doing today?
Thank you. I am great. Thank you so much for having me. It's good to see you all again.
Absolutely. So in typical fashion, we do a quick little icebreaker with our guests. So since we're on the subject of parent advocacy, if you could describe your parent advocacy through the lens of a superhero, who would that be? It can be a superhero we already know about. It can be your own made-up superhero. Who would that be?
What's funny is that you're asking me that question because I always sign off my vlog or writings about, motherhood as I'm a mom. What's your superpower? Because being a mother is definitely a superpower.
Absolutely.
But I would be Black Panther too. I think it's Shuri, the sister, became Black Panther. I love that it's Black Panther 2 because it is twice as much of everything that makes that character great, right? And I feel like I show up everywhere that I'm needed. I'm able to wear my advocacy like a suit and operate in my superpower, which is always standing up for others, presenting a unified, balanced voice in the room for some of our community that is not able to show up. They can't be there physically. They don't know how to show up even when they are present. And so, yeah, I would be Black Panther too.
Okay.
Shuri.
Wonderful.
Love that. Who wants to take it next?
So I said I would want to be, let me think. So a mixture of Jean Grey. So she later became the Phoenix. I forgot what her other alias was on X-Men. But if you know, you know. She just had she was just so dynamic. She could basically do anything, like just whatever she wanted. If she wanted to transform, if she wanted to read somebody's mind, if she wanted to just whatever, all the things, she could do it. It came with a lot of stress, but also I don't want that part. She can keep that. She can keep that. I don't want that. Bring me to the peace and the ease. You know what I mean? And then I think we were talking about it, so I'm gonna steal this one before, but I wouldn't mind being able to go back in time.
Definitely time travel as a superpower.
And whip up. I'm just like,
Okay.
just kidding, maybe slightly.
I feel like they could have used me during the civil rights era.
That part, throw some bows on them.
No, for real.
Bring my whips and chains.
Okay.
Look, not the. What's that all? My bad, y'all.
Her pointing at the boat, it took me out.
Bring some old Atlanta back to. Anyway,
Okay.
that's it.
If I were a superhero, I think I would be Storm. I would change the environment on you. I will make this whole thing very uncomfortable. It'll get dark on you. We'll start some storms, some lightning. We'll change the whole vibe.
I like it.
A disruptor, you know what I mean? Really changing everything. I think that would be a useful one.
Okay. So for me, I had to look it up because I'm like, what was her name? Did y'all watch Supercell?
Yes.
Super Soul on
Yes,
Netflix.
that was my
I did
jam.
not, and I said I was going to go back
It's
and watch
good.
that, 'cause
Watch
I
it.
watch Ironheart.
Watch it. It is
So
good.
there's a character. Her name is Sabrina, and she is a nurse. And she finds out she has telekinetic abilities, and she moves objects through her mind. You know, moves objects around with her mind. So I feel like that kind of represents my advocacy, you know, just moving things around. And really hers is it happens when she's kind of in emotional turmoil. She discovered her power when she got really angry because somebody tried her. And she, remember when he hit that bus? I was like, oh, good Lord, he gone. He out of there. But yeah,
Now
so.
you're going to make me go back and
You-
binge
when
watch
I
Yeah, no,
say
you
you got
watch.
to
It's
watch
a
it,
very
this
good.
afternoon.
But
I,
so
I
you
might
should-
be
the
canceling
prim-
my plan.
The premise of it is that the folks that have the sickle cell trait.
Oh, I
Actually,
definitely watch it because my niece has it. And
Yeah,
has really
no more
struggled.
spoiler alerts though. Let it
Okay, yeah.
Spoiler alert. I'm sorry, y'all.
But
Okay,
yeah,
I'm not gonna remember that. by the
yeah,
time I
yeah.
turn it
So,
on.
but so
I
that
promise you.
I love that ability that she has, and just, you know, again, I feel like as in the advocacy space, there's a lot of things that tug at your emotions. Like I have to be careful scrolling through Facebook because it's like you gonna see some things, you know,
You
and
wanna
it's gonna
respond.
yes, and you want to respond, or it's just gonna, you know, just
Disrupt you.
disrupt you. So, but yeah, I just appreciate having that power to kind of move things around. You know, throw a bus here or there. Somebody.
And be like, I don't know who that was.
Essentially,
I don't know.
we are throwing buses and
You know,
bows.
it's a little
Yeah,
bit like
buses and bows.
Buses
Yes,
and
put
bows.
that on the show.
Yeah,
We're
like-
throwing buses
okay,
and bows.
listen.
Yes, to get some stuff
And on the back,
right.
we are super.
Exactly,
Superhero.
exactly. So
like
Don't
it.
nobody steal our idea. Thank you.
Period.
You heard it here first.
Yeah. Go ahead and trademark that. Copyright.
that part. Okay, so thank you all for participating in that. So my first question to you would be, what sparked your parent advocacy journey? What sparked that journey, and also like what barriers did you have to overcome to get into this space?
One, the thing I believe, becoming a mother and realizing that I did not have one, or two, but three black boys that were given to me in my care is the thing that sparked my advocacy. I knew that helping navigate them through a system that was not designed or meant for their thriving, being schools, whether they were public or private, because they went to all, right? I homeschooled them early on, and then they entered into public school. And I realized very quickly, once they started school, that being involved was not enough, that I needed to advocate for them. It was easier when we lived abroad. We lived in West Africa, we lived in Northeast Africa, but when we came
That's
to
dope.
America, right, that's when the advocacy really began. You know, it was a little show here and there because you have different nationalities living in other countries, and you have to, you know, you always have to introduce or reintroduce yourself to actually who you are versus who they have seen you to be. But what I would say is that one of the things that helped me overcome barriers was building bridges, finding other parents, even creating another type of relationship with the teachers that taught my children, right? And so I began to advocate for them with the teacher by building a relationship, and the teacher didn't know it was advocacy, but I knew what I was doing, right? Because you need to know who it is that you're teaching and know that I'm bringing to you an actual book with pages. This is not an empty book for you to fill it however you would like. I've already filled this book in, and this is a continuum of the foundation that we built as a family. And so I think, you know, for me, it was just a matter of doing what was necessary. I don't know that I started off wanting to do this as work, right, to be paid for this. It is just always who I've been as a Libra, represented
Come
by
on,
the scales. It has always been justice and balance for me, like I said on Saturday, from the playground in Chicago where I was born to later being raised in Memphis and advocating in the lunchroom for my classmates, class parliamentarian in high school, marches here on the in Atlanta on our campuses, as well as other things. It was bred in me. My mother was a school teacher. My father was a Teamster. In Chicago, they were unionized. I remember very early being asleep in the car in the wintertime, and I was like, I want to wake up and throw an egg and a tomato too, because what we doing here? And I had to have been like 5 years old. So I saw my parents fighting for justice,
Right.
and I believe that it, definitely was something I was born to do, but I also think it was something that I saw my parents doing. And I'll say this, I learned later to move from emotion, like you said, we see things, from emotion and frustration to policy, because that's where the power lives. Like, how do I get in position to change what I am seeing and not be the victim?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's power in policy. I love that. So now that's a good segue into my next question. So, what are some obstacles that you notice that people face, specific parents, and specifically in marginalized communities? And also, what are some things that they can do to dismantle them? And I know it's a heavy work, but it's got to start somewhere.
It does have to start somewhere. And I'll say that often parents from our communities that look like us, are being told what their story should be. I said it again, the story, people love to sell and not tell our story, right? And so they don't actually lead with the promise or power of who we are. They lead with the pain and the problems of who we can show up as, right? And so that's not the totality of the communities that we live in, create, are born into, serve in. That is not the totality of us. And so I think we have to begin, one, by understanding that people come to the community as gatekeepers and not partners, and learning to recognize that, all money ain't good money. All advocacy ain't good advocacy, used to mess up the King's English. I think whether it's confusing policies, inaccessible meetings, biased discipline practices, or a sheer lack of transparency and accountability, the system is not designed for us. It's been designed on us.
Ooh.
So to dismantle them, parents need three things. These are three of my favorite words. Advocacy is for my A words. Access, awareness, and alliance. It's not that we can't. It's that we don't often have the tools or the equipment to do the job, right? We know that we show up in a room as these amazing, beautiful Black women, as mothers, as caregivers and providers. There is not a thing. We will MacGyver that thing. We're going to get the job done because that is what the moment requires. Yep. And so access to information, awareness of their rights, with language that is broken down and digestible to all people, all right? Again, that always happens in school. Alliances with other parents, with trusted educators, and advocacy with organizations that can amplify their voice and not pimp their pain.
Yeah.
So it is, again, my three words: access, awareness, and alliance.
Access, awareness, and alliance.
Access, awareness, and alliance. Love
Another
that.
T-shirt. Excuse me.
Okay, yeah.
No, for real.
We gotta
Seriously.
We're not gonna get, because we're gonna come up with a collective.
Okay.
And I'll say, lastly, being unapologetically informed, right, allows you to be creatively bold or collectively bold. So we are so busy trying to temper the message. When we respond to things, many times we're trying to find the words to be diplomatic and still appear a certain way when the people who have offended us in their work or their trying or whatever it is that they're doing, they don't do that. And so when we are ready to respond to that in word, deeds, or even in words, we're so busy trying to figure out what's it going to look like if I do this or that, instead of being unapologetically bold and answering force with force, be it, strong emails, letters, immediately.
Egg or tomato. Let me see.
Egg or tomato. Let the word.
I don't want nobody to go to jail, but yeah.
We don't want to go to jail. But the thing is that we can find space to show up as we need to show up, and not being who we think will be more digestible. Right.
Absolutely. I love that, because we do that on a day that we tone down a lot so that we don't fall into those narratives of being the
trope of the angry Black woman.
Yeah.
When we just can be compassionate and spirited and the protectors that parents are. It's not anger. It is passion, and it is also,
and even if it is, it's righteous anger.
It's righteous anger.
That part.
And it's not. And anger is not bad. Anger is the thing that shows up to protect us with love, sometimes that we're not able to do. So anger comes out almost like as a superpower to say, hey, to the person that is angering us, that's enough. Like, this is where it
helps you with that boundary.
Like, you've gone too far, right? And then they don't respond to anger, and that's when things can escalate. So.
Okay. Thank you for that. So, and that's a good segue as well. So the next question that I have would be, we talked about some different things, that marginalized families can do to step into their advocacy and to change and dismantle and disrupt systems. So my next question would be, it scrolled all the way up. Okay. So I need a real life example. Can you share a real example, like the example of how your advocacy has led to policy change?
Yes, I'll share two. One, the first time, it's almost like, when did you know you had power? But I remember when I was a parent liaison in Fulton County Schools, and that work was full time, and it had benefits, and I don't know if it was ever a decent salary, but I did. You do all the other things after school. Can you monitor the newsletter? For a fee, yes, I can do all those things. Right, we make it work. But I I left Fulton County and I went to Atlanta Public Schools. One of the principals, which is a funny story within itself, that I had to check when my son was at Westlake High School, because an incident happened and they just immediately were like, oh, he's going to get 10 days suspension and this happened. And I said, now, sir, I don't know if you have children, but I know mine, and that didn't happen that way. Where are the cameras? I want to see them.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, well, the cameras in that area were not working. I said, then line up everybody that you interviewed, and I want to set up a meeting with them and their parents.
That's right.
Including the coach. And it turned out that my son did not do what he was accused of. But when I rolled up to the school, I was then married to my second husband. But I called my son's father, my first husband, and was like, listen, this is what's happening. When I say they nicknamed us three the hard way, because we rolled up, me and my little 5'8", one of them is 6'4", the other one is 6'5". And so when the principal came to the door, he looked like, oh, wait, hold on. Wait a minute, what's happening?
Gang in this thing.
Right, gang in this thing, right? Okay, so we solved it, and he laughed years later. And when he moved to another school, because I was also active at that school as a parent, he was like, I'm reaching out because I need you to come with me from Fulton County to APS and help build this advocacy. And I was like, cool. Now, I don't know where in the conversation it was lost on me that it was part-time. Again, I'm married with 3 children, but at the time that I made that move, I was going through a divorce. So I'm a one-person household. And I'm working and say, okay, well, get ready for it, because over the summer, I said, over the summer what? Because the money was commensurate, so I didn't really see it for part-time, right? They were paying because they paid more.
Okay.
I said, you mean I'm getting ready to go without money? Sir, you must be confused. So I advocated for the position in Atlanta Public Schools to become full-time. And it is now, since then, and has been a full-time position for parent liaisons. Right?
Come on.
So that was the first time. The second, there have been several times. One of the more recent times was State Senator Rashawn Kemp, who is a freshman senator, came from, I live in District 38, Fulton County, South Fulton. The city of South Fulton is in District 38. And when I became a lobbyist, we were both freshmen, first-time lobbyist, first-time senator. He had a bill. He was a lot of focus on education because he's been in the charter space. He's been everything from a teacher to a principal. And it was around the science of reading. In the last 10 years, we have seen reading scores across this nation drop drastically because someone, as usual, decides to change the rules about what reading should be, and we are doing 3Qing and other methods. So that means that the teachers coming out of school to teach were not getting taught this. And then the children who were being taught just learning to read, maybe you didn't have that support at home,
right,
were being taught to, queuing. Oh, there's a purple gate what color is the gate? Well, they can see it's purple. They're not learning to read. And so really advocating for the science of reading to be brought back into schools. That's phonemic awareness. And so many other things. That's not my level of expertise, but SB 93 was a bill that needed to get through. And I did everything in my power to help it get through, writing emails, showing up, talking to folks, calling people, anything to support, and the bill passed, right? And so it is a law now, and that with that bill, with HB 307, which was a previous bill, supported that bill as well. Those two being brought into law, together are going to change the game of literacy in Georgia. And I was very proud to be a part of that. So those are the two things that I can think of.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Those are great examples. When we think about increasing capacity and building knowledge with our larger community, what resources can parents and community members use to better understand legislation and then engage in the legislative process?
First of all, this good old mouthpiece that we have been blessed with, but it starts with being close and accessible with your legislators. And one of the things I'll say is that when I was at the Capitol almost every day for that entire legislative period, I didn't see a lot of people who looked like us. I did not see a lot of folks, period, right? The legislators would tell you that maybe 1% of their constituents contacts them. You don't have to show up. I didn't have to see them, but I'm saying I didn't see them represented. So emails, letters, phone calls. I can say they do respond because I was doing all of those things. You didn't know me from Adam. I'm dropping off one-pagers in offices with my information on them. Their staff is very amicable, receptive, and will pass along your message, forward your email, say the fact that you came to the office. And every state has a website where you can track bills. You can read summaries and see how your representatives are voting. I don't believe we are being fully participatory in our democracy because we are not calling people to task. We are doing our civic duty. Oh, I did my civic duty. Well, did you? Pulling a lever is not your civic duty. That is the beginning of it, or maybe a part of it. That's not even the beginning of it. The beginning is researching to see who it is you're voting. Maybe not voting down the party or down the ticket, but voting for the actual things that you believe in. And that I say that because some of the things that had to get done, I was kikiing and, meeting with and talking to folks across the aisle different from the party that I believe in. I don't know. I won't say believe in, that I have been advocating with. That's what I'm saying. I don't know what I believe now, but legis.ga.gov, legis.ga.gov. Platforms like Ballot Ready, Vote.org. They break down elections, ballots, measures, policymaker profiles, and plain language. Follow your House representatives, state representatives, your congressmen, senators, everybody. Follow them on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, because you can find out a lot about what they're doing there as they move around. And if you don't see them, also say, listen, I'm following all these things. I don't see you doing much. Can you tell me what you've done in the last 90 days, 60 days, 120 days since you've been elected? Could you run down a summary of what you've been supporting? They owe that to you.
Yes.
That Gold Dome is your house. Those are your seats, and they represent you and your voice. So why not, make your voice be known? The Georgia Policy and Business Institute, the Partnership for Southern Equity, Georgia Youth Justice Coalition, all these organizations offer webinars, toolkits, and action guides that center equity in community. Black Voters Matters is another one. The Georgia Justice Project. There are so many organizations that can help you. Even the ACLU, they have kind of revamped under Andrea Young, and she has a lot of young folks at the table who are out in the community doing work and making their presence known. And so
That's amazing.
a lot of organizations out there where parents can get engaged. A lot of them are giving these bite-sized nuggets of what's happening. That was one of the things I did in my former role as the state director with National Parents Union. I would make sure to take what I was learning, summarize it, and give it out in small bites, making posts about it on Instagram or Facebook so that people could understand the legalese of what you're saying, right? Yeah.
That's awesome. I think that's so. Can we go back to what you were saying about the House bill on queuing, right? So
3Qing,
on
yeah.
3Qing. So my daughter started kindergarten in 2021, and I immediately had these issues with her, like transitioning from homeschool into like learning to read in the school. I remember when this bill passed, I didn't know it existed, and I saw the celebration of it. There was like this big thing on the news, and parents were like all gathering around, and like there was a whole signing, and I was like, how did I not know that this was being discussed, that this was a conversation? I'm like talking to her guidance counselor. I'm having these conversations. I didn't know this was a thing. How can we as community members know about relevant legislation that affects us pertinently? How do we know who our legislators are and how we reach out to them to create that real symbiotic relationship to where we feel comfortable engaging in that way?
So the beautiful thing about AI and Google and all these AI coming into existence,
Sister Chat,
as easily, it's been here, right? But it's easily accessible. For one, you can Google put your zip code in and Google who your local and federal representatives are, your council people. You don't always know that your Fulton County Commissioner. All of these are places, your board members. This is where you start, because federal does affect us, but your state level is what is affecting you directly.
Right.
That is the thing that you are most likely able to influence, right? And so I subscribe to now you get tired of all this stuff in your inbox, but create you an email address that is just for those things.
Okay.
Therefore, it does not cloud your regular email
right.
address. And when you know you need to, let me go over to my email address and find out what's happening over here. Subscribe to newsletters from organizations that do legislative work. Follow your local school board, city council, and state reps on social media. I said that. Get text alerts from civic groups like When We All Vote and Black Voters Matters, because they have those little boxes for you to sign up. Again, get a Google number that comes to your phone for people to text so that you're not bombarded, because it can be overwhelming.
Indeed.
But you also want a place that you can specify just for yourself of where you can go to get the information that you need. Don't underestimate the power of group chats and parent groups, right? Start your own parent group at the school and say, listen, my name is Cindy Wendy, and I am a parent that really wants to know what's happening. I have a little more time on my hand than maybe some of you, and so I'd like to start a group chat and share who our city council people are, our state representatives are, how we can follow the board members and what they're doing, and is anybody else interested in getting in a group chat? It starts with us, right? Or somebody else may be doing it. And if they're not, then you're doing it. You started.
Well.
Right? And so I know that was a little bit, I will look on the news all the time and say, who is in the room with these conversations? Because when I see the room, it is not indicative of the community. Where are the alerts? Sending it out to parents who work. Where can I go? But the other thing is we also have to seek it out. No one is bringing it to us. You are the Calvary. The Calvary, ain't nobody coming to save you. And so you also have to be responsible. I say we're not being participatory in our democracy because we don't know how folks are voting. We vote for them, or we figure we're not going to vote, which is still a vote, as we can see what's happening across the nation. Not voting, you did vote, right? Folks are going to cheat, but you have to get ahead of the curve, and you can't, dictate what somebody else's advocacy is going to look like or what they're going to do, but you can make your voice heard. And there are several ways to do it, right? Collective knowledge keeps us ready and not reactive. If you stay ready, you will have to do what?
Get ready.
Okay.
You got to stay ready. And again, anything educational, you want to sign up for it on this separate Gmail, and so that you know what's happening. And send me alerts on this Gmail account, not all the sales, but on this one, send me alerts and let me know. And it's going to pop up in your little window. Voting on such and such today. Oh, this is being heard. So it's a fair amount of research that has to be done, especially when the session is in. Today is July 1st. And about 40-something laws went into effect today. The governor didn't necessarily sign them. He didn't sign every piece of legislation. But if he didn't sign it and didn't veto it, and it passed the House and the Senate, it became a law today. So the homework is to start with Googling what all those laws are, because many of them have to do with education.
What? Good
You heard
to
it
know.
here first.
Google the
Good to
laws.
know.
On July 1st.
And you said on Legis.
You can go on legis.gov, but if you just Google on regular Google now, what laws went into effect on July 1st
In the state of Georgia.
In the state of Georgia.
Wow. Okay.
I love the idea of the cavalry and about us taking ownership of that responsibility. No one is coming to save us. What advice do you give parents like me? I went to Georgia State. I'm back at Georgia State now. I grew up around the state capitol, and I have no relationship with it. What advice do you give people like me who are interested in going into this space for the first time, but not really being clear about how to engage? Chantel had an opportunity to go, and she gave me some really great insight about what it's like in there and kind of the vibe of it. But I think it's intimidating for a lot of us. And so what advice would you have for us? How do we get past that intimidation?
First of all, take a deep breath, because you belong there, right? No one validates you when you walk into a room. You're already validated by your existence, right? I used to say this thing all the time, especially during the pandemic, and I was in a lot of parent education classes because we were online. I was validated by they who sent me here, right? I bring my ancestors into the room of every room that I am in, because I am walking the road that they paved for me. The creator, whether it is Allah, Buddha, God, whoever you were, you're already validated by your mere existence, and you belong in there because that is the people's
The car was
house.
told I had fractured rib.
Sorry, y'all. That's okay. It can be intimidating, these huge ceilings and all of this, historical, and then there's an energy and a spirit in there, right? And so you got to already go being, ready, prayed up, meditated up, but walking with confidence. You are the expert of your lived experience. You speak from your truth. Again, changing the narrator and the narrative, right, of our own stories, leading with your truth, keeping it clear and concise. Know your ask, and then tie it to real life situations. Sometimes we want to tell somebody our whole story in an email, and we asking for something. I am da-da-da-da-da from this area. I'm concerned about this thing. Here are some things I think can be done. I'd like to know what you're doing. Short, sweet, and to the point. Now, when you get in a meeting, again, short, sweet, and to the point, but maybe you can elaborate more, right? Or when you get an answer, then you bring others to the meeting. Everybody loves playing to a crowd. So when I open the door and I'm your senator or House representative or congressman, and I got a crowd, well, then I got to play to the crowd. So then you may get more time than you have bargained for if you just showed up by yourself, right? There's power in numbers. And so keep it clear and concise. Bring a one-page or a personal letter to leave behind. When you go on these, we're going to visit a lot of people do these advocacy days, and we're visiting the Capitol. And it's a photo op for many, right? And then we want that cute little picture on the stairs. It feel very powerful and like, hey, this is where I was. But if the group is not serving you, break away from the group. Go knowing who your people are and where to find them. And when you walk in there, go earlier than the advocacy day and say, where can I find these rooms right here? Because you can get lost. I used to be on one elevator. I said, no, I could know good and well. I am back on the same floor. But I was, right? And so I needed a little map. There were none. And even the maps I got, I was still confused by where I was going. If you can go with a group, take photos and debrief together. The first visit isn't just about policy; it's about reclaiming that space as yours. See, it's a little bit of a spiritual journey, right? This was not a house that was built for us. It was definitely built on us, and it was built by us. But that's another meeting for another day.
Hello, smile.
I walked the halls again, and many times did not see the constituents in numbers, because you don't have to wait for an advocacy day. You can go any day. Go any day. That's your house. And go see the people. They're
I
not
think
in
all you
there.
need is just like your ID, right? And
All you
just
need is your ID.
Yeah.
And again, don't show up with your mace or any of the other little things that you may keep on your purse on a daily basis. Go ahead and leave all those in the car.
Absolutely. You
Or at
better.
home, for that matter.
Yeah.
Because when I say it is protected, as it should be, but they are also there. The GBI, the state troopers, they secure the area, but they are quite amicable and courteous, even when you're walking around lost. Right? That has been my experience, especially the more they got to know who I was and, see my face.
Well, that's
When you
good.
became a regular, huh?
Yeah, but even the first thing, they're gonna be, you can do this and that, but they're not off-putting. Like, I ain't gonna never go back in there again. And if you find one, then you find somebody else to complain to them about, because they generally are not like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Good to know.
Okay. I don't know about when you get a speeding ticket, but at the Capitol, they chill. They chill.
Okay.
So I'm saying that to say all that can be when you walk in the door, all that you have to do not just keep going.
Yeah.
You belong there. That is your space. I'm sorry.
No worries, no worries. So there was, to the point that she's making about going to the Capitol. So you also mentioned National Parent Union. I know that you have worked with them before, and also probably other nonprofits as well, right? So from your experience, how can nonprofits and community partners assist in just maybe, I know that there's a lot of, even with our organization Ubuntu, we focus on resident capacity building, so there's training and things of that nature. So from your purview, how can nonprofit organizations and community partners collaborate to improve, civic engagement and civic duty and just even education,
For one, I believe that we need to stop treating civic engagement like it's a seasonal campaign.
Okay.
It shifts with new wording, and once you have the nomenclature, then everybody's throwing it around, and that's all the rage to be doing this thing. I don't like when I see that, because again, you are profiting off of the pain of other folks, and many times a nonprofit will start off with a great intention to fill a void from very compassionate people who came to the table as a group to do this thing. And when you write grants and you work off of grants, then your work shifts to tap dancing to what the grantor or the funder would like to see you do. And that is where the compassion, the advocacy, the
Almost
loyalty
the
to community,
too.
the authenticity goes to die.
Agreed.
At the talent show for the funder.
Oh,
Right. And so, how we used to practice for the talent shows when we were in middle school and high school, because you're trying to get the prize, right? And so I would love to, I think it's a year-round thing that is woven into everything we do: workshops, newsletter, community events, food drives. Organizations can definitely first partner with LB Winters Consulting Firm to partner in creative ways for civic engagement always.
come on, we been playing.
Known as a bridge builder, honey. Let me help you help the people.
Okay.
And I say that because it's folks like me in community that have been living in community, doing work in community, who understand the people, who understand what the people have been through, what the folks have been promised, what has not happened, what was good, what wasn't good. Get in there with those folks in community, not just the people who have come to the table with the funding to do the thing. That's great. We need everybody.
Right.
But we have to partner authentically with the community, all of the community, not the people that show up as a spokesperson, not just the people on the council and on this and on that.
Right.
Make it, just like we're saying we want the Capitol to be a place that feels like home to us, the work has to feel like home to the people that you are claiming to be working for.
Absolutely.
Indeed.
Have some community policy advisors who bring the message back home, right? And then compensate people for their time. I would love to see, even though nonprofits get the grants, that they may be able to put the thing on. But then a community-based organization that has some money, some of these entertainers and athletes that came out of these high schools and communities and areas, may be partnering with them for the actual dollars to everybody that comes is going to get a $50 gift card, a $50 gift card to Kroger. The person that is be dubbed the community ambassador, not you, let the people choose who they want to hear the message from. Maybe every time they come to a city council meeting or a board meeting, we're going to give them the opportunity and give them a $100 gift card for coming, right? And then we can circulate that advocacy person, because that person can't get all the $100. Once somebody find out there's something tied to it, right, then they're gonna vote that person out. Host civic Saturdays or policy pop-ups at barbershops,
Civic
churches,
Saturdays,
schools.
like
Create culturally relevant materials that reflect how our families learn and lead, that reflect how the community, how the families learn, and how they lead. Don't go in telling somebody what leadership looks like to them. Go in and say, how is it that you have led this? How have you all been able to do that? Oh, I see your leadership style is this. Well, this is how we have done it. How can we put these two leadership styles together? Not dismiss the folks as not having no leadership. You don't come to nobody's community and say there are no leaders. There's a leader in every community. You don't tell a parent on the first day of school that you know better than them because you're the first teacher. And you don't lead with the parent or the families as a teacher as if the parent has no idea. Because they have some idea, because you're looking at the child in the place that they are supposed to be brought to learn. So they have some idea because they're there. Right? And so we have to quit telling people that how they come and how they show up is not enough for what they need. They have to be a certain way, right? Civic power grows when we center relationship, relevance, and repetition. Building a relationship first. If I know you and I trust you, you can tell me anything. Now, it's going to still hurt and sting, and I'm still cry, but I ain't going to want to fight you. If there is relevance, why are y'all testing my child so much? Well, we're doing it because that's what the state requires. And that's not an answer for me. I don't like it. I see it's not being effective for my child. I see that my child is not learning the way I think they should be. But every time I turn around, y'all testing them for something.
Every single time. Sure.
Break it down. Help them understand what is the relevance of this. Not just somebody told me to do it. Why do you all think this is the best way? Because I don't. And then repetition. I don't care how many newsletters you got to say the same thing in. Keep saying it and sending them home. I don't care how many times they don't respond to it. Keep putting it on the phone and texting it out. It's so simple. That is not causing you anything. Over-communicate. Is there such a thing? It is not. When people are entrusting you with their children, their policy, their lives, over-communicate. Ask your representatives, do you have a newsletter that you send out? Where do I sign up for that? Do you send out text messages? Where do I sign up for that? Oh, you don't. Do you think it would be good if you did? Sign up for some other people's stuff that is not in your district so you can see if my person's on this committee, I want to see what everybody on that committee does. Because I'm trying to see who are you in concert with. So we have to do our own civic duty and our own investigation. As we approach July 4th, systemically and historically, the laws of the land have not applied to us in the ways that they have applied to everyone else. They have not benefited us in the ways that they have benefited everyone else.
Period.
And so we cannot expect to just do what everyone else does and get the same results.
Well,
That makes sense. So one of the things that you mentioned, which was just so beautiful, about making sure that you understand how families lead. You can't go in trying to tell them what you think leadership looks like. So with that said, that segues me to my next question. So what do you think goes into making parent-led movements have lasting impact? Whether that's in the school, well, of course, we would love that in the schools, at the state level. What do you think goes into those movements, parents specifically, parent-led, having a lasting impact?
I mean, one of the things that we constantly say true influence comes when we are at the table and not just on the agenda. I have a parent that I used to say all the time when I was young.
Dropping gems. I'm like,
Shauna Hayes
see,
Tavares,
I'm here
baby, used to tell us, "I'm going to these meetings because if you're not on the table at the table, you're on the menu.
Ooh.
If you are not at the table, you are on the menu. Same thing. If you are not at the table, then you and just on the agenda, then that's the menu. You're on the menu, right? I want to be at the table choosing what I eat. I want to be on the menu, possibly being eaten
Ooh.
Or passed over.
or passed over,
Ooh.
because it's a menu of options, and maybe I'm not to your liking, and so I'm not an option, not selected. I'm not a choice that you make because you feel like it's an option to not have me as a choice. But you can't feel that way if I show up informed, aware, and with alliances.
Okay.
yeah.
It means holding schools and lawmakers accountable while developing our own campaigns of advocacy, narratives, and policy solutions. Again, we can't, like we're asking them to lead with our power and promise and not our problems. You also can't lead just with the problem. When you're going to see lawmakers, board members, principals, teachers, here is the problem. Here's a solution that I've come up with. What solution have you come up with for this problem? Even when you're calling me in, I have boys. They were not perfect growing up. They 200% boys. Rah, rah, rah. But baby, you best believe if I'm coming in for a meeting with the principal or the teacher or the team of teachers, you better not just be talking to me about a problem. I want to know what solutions have you arrived at? Because here's where I'm solution based. I'm solution oriented.
Okay.
Right? And I require that, and I come with that. So again, how many times has this thing happened? You got your handbook, and I got the handbook out too. And I got it circled in red like a teacher.
On page 52.
Yeah, because we're going to do this.
Let me put this highlight right
I'm
here.
not sure if it has changed, but it says right here that, yeah, go play with somebody else, honey. Go play in traffic, but don't play with me.
Ooh.
Okay? So I'm sorry, I got off. I was triggered.
You had a flash.
I had a flashback. Lasting, I'll say this. Lasting influence isn't just about showing up. It's about building infrastructure, and parent-led movements grow when we do these things. Organize locally and then scale strategically.
Okay. Scale strategically.
You have to scale the work that you're doing. It can't just live right here.
Yeah.
Because you're in a school district. You know every school district got these same issues. I'm going to go on over here, and my cousin live in Marietta. I wanted to have the same issues in Cobb. My auntie live in Decatur. I wondered, did they go through this? Or you don't have to know anybody. You know, be nosy. What parent groups are happening? Hey, this is happening in Fulton County. Is it happening in Rockdale? It is. What are y'all doing about it?
Yeah.
Trade it off. You ain't got to figure out everything. Cultivate relationships with power holders. I just said that. And builders and teachers, media partners alike. I used to be like, I had one media person that he gave me his card in the event. Baby, I wore that thing out. Hey, how you doing? Just wondering, did you know about, or I saw you did a story on. And he always responded.
Oh, nice.
Always responded. Collect and use data, surveys, testimonies, school outcomes to strengthen your position. Data is all around us. And you can create a form on your own and send it around to parents.
Yes,
and
you
now
can.
it's
So
become what do you call it? It's a petition. Hey, I surveyed 100 parents in K through second grade. And here's the forms give you a little pie chart, really make you look like you know what you're doing. And there's a link to you to put in your email, and here you can see it right here. The data is not skewed. And then you'll be able to go back and say, on this date, I think I sent you, the assistant principal, the co-teacher, and right here. I sent all of you the link to the form so you can see what parents were saying.
I love that. Just reckon you're right. Like, data is everywhere.
And it's so easily accessible. You got qualitative data and quantitative data.
And you want to, tear that Microsoft Word and what, Excel, and put that in a PowerPoint, make that look good in Canva.
Ma'am. Again, let the robots be your friends.
I know that's right.
That's true. I love that. I wrote that
Listen,
down.
let the robots be your friends.
Yeah.
Right? Because it'll show you how to do what you need. YouTube. everything. You're a parent. You are not the first parent in this dispensation in time. If you have children, that's why I write the Mommy Chronicles, the book I wrote. Motherhood is the universal sisterhood.
Yes, it
You're
is.
going to have a terrible 2-year-old that is more terrible the closer they get to 3.
Three
You
nature.
are going to have a horrible teen or tween that you really don't like, but you love them.
Ooh.
You're going to have, you all will have these young adults who feel like they know everything at like 18, 19, 20.
I feel like you coming for me
even
right now.
21.
baby.
But that is, I don't care how much money you have. I don't care what demographic you live in. You can't escape that. These attitudes of these teenagers, giving that side eye and that sassiness, it doesn't matter. So again, parenting is a universe that we all live in, and the socioeconomic differences, skin color, you are going to be handled by a toddler in your life. If you are a parent, you will be embarrassed and shamed. Okay?
Yes.
You will be. And so understanding that
Handled
we are
and
more
manhandled.
alike than we are different, and that these things, we're all fighting for what is right and best for our children. I'm not fighting against you. I'm fighting for me. That don't mean I'm against you.
That part.
If I'm pro-black, I don't mean I'm anti-white.
That part.
I can only be, I'm pro who I am.
Right.
I'm not anti-people. I'm saying parents. All parents go through the same thing. That's the other thing. At the Capitol, you make friends on issues.
Yeah.
And we work across all the lines.
I love that.
All of them. And that's another thing. I didn't learn that, but that was another thing that is driven. You come together based on what it is that you need to get done for these babies. And I wished more lawmakers, more principals, more teachers, more everybody that has to deal with our kids really understood that we have to cross the lines of positivity in order to build power. Right? They cross a lot of lines all day, every day. Cross the right line.
Absolutely. So that is so beautiful. I just feel like so many rich things coming out of this dialogue. So my next question would be, as it relates to parents, right? So we kind of talked about where to find our legislators and things of that nature. Now, how does a parent, we're kind of going into the school system. How does a parent navigate the engagement piece, like moving on from the surface level engagement of, maybe I did a parent teacher conference, or I showed up to maybe a school board meeting, or how do they kind of get into a deeper level of engagement with the school system? How would you advise from your own experience how a parent can do that?
I believe that, if you follow how family engagement has gone, it went from parent involvement to parent engagement, and then it evolved from parent engagement to family engagement, because we understood that everyone who is acting as a guardian and caretaker may not be that child's parent, right?
True.
So there were levels of inclusivity. Sustained advocacy, or elevating your advocacy, really means that we shift the word from being participatory or participants, just coming to the meeting, to being planners, to kind of take in charge of the meeting. Like, I know the board meeting happens on this day, and so again, you may be that parent. We're sitting in basketball practice or dance team practice waiting, and we strike up conversations all the time with other parents. Or I don't know if that still happens, because we become so mind to mama, mind my business until we don't. But striking up the conversation to say, I am so-and-so. I was thinking about going to a board meeting because I've never been. Is that something you all would be interested in? Because here are some of the, I don't know if you know, these things are on the agenda, and this pertains to our school. People go, as soon as you say our school or our babies, wait, let me see that. What is it now? What does that mean? What that mean? That means that da-da-da-da-da-da. And it just rolls from there.
Okay.
Right? Some people want to come. Some people not interested in what you're saying. They scrolling on their phone. That's not your tribe. Not that day. Right? It requires capacity building, a shared vision, and the stamina to show up and when we feel unheard. If nobody comes with you from the basketball practice, attending a meeting is a start, but transformation comes with, well, when parents organize before the meeting and debrief after. So sometimes and life happens.
It does.
We got together to go to the meeting. It was so much. Girl, did you record it? Yeah, I did. I said with my phone on my lap, I'm recording everything, and I can decipher it later. Again, we have this thing now called it artificial intelligence. So much more accessible. Take your notes and put it in there and ask it to break it down. Summarize this for me. Notebook LM. Notebook LM is a place where you take large documents, like the summaries for legislation and bills, like the notes that you recorded on your phone from the board meeting, or the minutes from the board meeting, and you upload it and say, summarize this for me. Pull out the important, whatever you want it to do. It makes it something that you can listen to. It creates audio for you to listen to. It creates notes, all the things. So Notebook LM is a source that you put those large documents in that you need to read. The parent handbook, break it down. Summarize what it's saying, right?
Yeah, because that thing be
That thing be thick. That thing be thick. And they get you with the small print on a page that got stuck together. Or now it's an email, because they still be giving out all that paper. But also, something you might have scanned past, but again, also to cut down on time. Understanding the decision-making process, who holds the purse strings and influences the votes? Baby, follow the money. Right? The QTI, if it ain't about the money, you can miss me with it, okay? Because that's who's controlling everything. That's like the puppet master. It is always about money, power, and influence, okay?
Well,
I just had to share though. Sidebar. This is the second podcast episode where T.I. has come up. I think we might as well just call him the Kang. Okay, the Kang. Yes.
We might need to.
Civically engaged.
He is very civically engaged. He is quotable. He has many quotes, but he expeditiously, baby. But he has been one from community, in community, that is active, that is vocal on many fronts. And dare I say that he is my birthday twin, baby, 9/25.
Oh, okay.
Because
I forgot he is a
Libran.
Yeah, I forgot he was a Libra. That makes sense that he's a Libra.
Balancing in the wild, standing up for people in a voice that may or may not be digestible for you, right? But you can definitely find out. But that is one of the things that I've always loved him. Followed the family, right? That's in my head. That's my little nephew, along with being my birthday twin. But that's a true Libra. Definitely gonna speak up and speak out for the people. Loves community. Gonna be in community. Talented, creative. Can do a multifaceted things. Be fly and fashionable. But yeah, I got off sidetrack. But yeah, invite you. I think y'all should invite him on the podcast, because we're talking about liberation and advocacy and community, which are things that I know he stands 10 toes down on, and stands on business for the city that he loves, right? That bore him and bred him.
Right.
But stay engaged between meetings. Show up in working groups, policy forums, and budget hearings. Because y'all just heard me say it's about the money.
Indeed.
And everybody be, and we're just doing this. Go to that budget hearing.
And the Title I, I know that some of these schools, they have the Title I meetings as well. Yeah.
And go to the Title I meetings fully equipped, ready to ask questions, because they kind of scan that off as a checklist. And we did that, and we got the most amount. I got some questions. I got questions.
Yeah.
And read that. First of all, call them out on sending the information out early enough for you to read, because that's how your school is getting money. And it talks about how the money is being spent.
Yes.
And that many schools now have done away with parent liaisons or family engagement specialists, because they figured that 1% of money they can take and do something, because they only give it 1%. And that 1% goes for the salary and all the stuff that the parent liaison needs to help parents, from copies, copy paper, workshops, all the things. 1%.
And then they're trying to take it.
Billions of dollars, not million, billions of dollars. And so you also could have a say-so we want to vote for more than 1% to be given to the parent liaison. Or if you have a strong PTA, that's when the PTA says, we got money, we want to give the parent liaison a stipend so that their job is not part-time, or that they have a stipend so that they can make a livable wage, because it's not a livable wage. It's usually $27,000, and that's including your insurance.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah.
Not even 30.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I digress, but that's the little
Y'all digest. She gonna digress because we gotta take that in.
Yeah, it's not a livable wage.
It's
Many
not.
people do it. Many of the folks are married or have a two-parent. They're not, I'm going to say many. Some are retired. They came back to do the work. They've traditionally had a two-income household. But many do it are parents, or especially mothers, who came to the advocacy. They want to do something, and they do that work. And they're not able to make a livable wage. And yet, pretty much
So
any parent
ridiculous.
liaison that I've met or been through in a school, as a district employee with APS, I had 18 parent liaisons under my leadership, and I supported them. I would show up at 10 things in a day. They're like, how you get to 10 schools? I said, carefully plotting my route. But I made
Especially in
sure,
Atlanta.
because I had, at that time, when I was working at District 11 APS, I had the Douglas cluster and the Jackson cluster. So, I consider myself to be an honorary Astro, baby. I'm 10 toes down for 30318. And I advocated like I lived in that community, because I shopped in that community. I'm up there at the beauty supply. I'm up there getting me some fries. I didn't eat wings. I'm a vegan. But nothing to eat. You eating fries all while you driving that route. You eating whatever's on that route. When baked potato, I got anything that's vegan. Trying to hit Mr. Everything, whatever it was back in the day. What can I get?
What, Tassili's? I don't know.
Maybe Tassili's, whatever was in my area, right? And so, many times as educators, administrators, we might not live in the community, but you can be in community, right? If it's a Saturday, and I know we have something at the school, I'm gonna go to I'm dating myself, my Winn-Dixie. It's right there for MLK. I can't even think of it was a rumor going around that they were black owned, and they were not. I can't think of it. It's in that little plaza over by Young off of MLK. It's a Family Dollar there. But anyway, it wasn't a Piggly Wiggly. It was another one.
Not a Wayfield.
It was Wayfield's. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Wayfield Foods. And I'm going to get what I need because I'm at Wayfield's. But by doing that, I'm seeing my people. Hey, Miss B, what you doing here on a Saturday? I'm coming from the school, and I needed to grab a few things, Now, they ain't got no veggie burgers up in there, but they got paper towels, toilet tissue. They got the other things that I need. They got juice. They got cereal. I got
They
kids.
might have stepped it up now. That's true.
They had, baby, by the time I left from over there, they had soy milk, right? And so I got to go to Family Dollar. I'm going to go to the one that's closer to the schools. I'm getting gas. I'm going to get gas in my community. That is where my people are. I don't live over here, but I serve here. And the people need to see me being a leader, a servant in their community.
And
right?
accessible, too.
Accessible.
Yeah.
I'm not running away from, as soon as I did, because this is where I come to get paid. No, this is where I come to do my work. This is advocacy work. This is community building.
Well.
And those are the little things that make great leadership even greater.
Period.
I love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
Period. Okay. So, okay, this has been just so dynamic, and you have dropped so many jewels and so many gems.
Child, I'm long way to go and cut me off.
So, a question for you from me. So I have the twins. They're autistic. One of my big, and two of them that I have here, but that I want to know, how can parents effectively advocate within their children's schools, whether it's around IEPs, especially because that's something that's big for me, right? Curriculum, or even the funding. Now, you talked about going to the Title I meetings and things like that, but how can we effectively advocate? Like, what are some of the steps, like raw data, practical steps? What can we do?
Raw data, practical steps. Knowing your child's and your rights. And that, again, means doing your own research. What does a state policy say? Because, see, the school don't like when you come in with the facts, the big facts. what is the federal policy and what does the state policy say about IEPs and 504 plans. Here's a misnomer. Yes, they are attempting to dismantle the U.S. Department of Education, but they have not done that.
Right.
They have fired folks. They have cut the employees down to a very fraction of what it used to be. But they are still functioning in all the functions required to now. Which means they were also talking about putting 504s on the chopping block, and they were going to, they have moved some things around, but you have to constantly and consistently check the laws to see, has anything moved? Excuse me, especially in this administration. Has anything changed?
Absolutely.
Overnight. When our legislative session is when our legislators are in session, you have to do the same thing there too.
Okay.
Because it moves very swiftly. You might have just had a win, and you wake up and they found a way to dovetail that onto something else and push that bill through, and bam, it's a wrap.
I remember you said they'll sneak it on to a different bill.
They'll tack it onto the end, so which is why during our legislative session, a little sidebar, you have to watch the House and the Senate.
Okay.
Because something will pass. We're like, oh, it got passed. No, it didn't pass. It's still got to pass the House. And it's got to go to the subcommittee. It's got to go here. Finding out all the places the bill has to go before it becomes a bill. Because it doesn't just go, nothing is cut and dry.
Okay.
It ain't black and white. There's a lot of gray in the area, right? Getting back, though, to the question at hand, whether you're sitting in an IEP table or talking to a principal about curriculum concerns, come in informed, calm, and clear about what your expectations are, which means knowing your rights. Because if you violated my right, then my expectation is, how are we going to fix this? And maybe you didn't know. Because the principal doesn't know everything. You don't know everything about your house.
Right.
Right? It's summertime. There's some stuff going on that we don't know about. Kids there all day. But you're responsible if anything happens in your house.
Absolutely.
So go in with the same grace for this person that you would want for yourself when you're on the receiving end of that. Okay. Because at the end of the day, the people that we are talking to are what? They're people.
Yeah.
They're human.
Yeah.
They already on the defensive because the teacher or somebody did something that now they got to answer for it, and not just to you.
Yeah.
They already tight when you walk in the room.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not your responsibility to disarm them, but it's your responsibility to be calm so that they can remain calm. Document everything.
Okay.
Document everything. Document everything. Documentation beats conversation every single day of the week.
Period.
A paper trail. You have a phone. Do you mind if I record this meeting so I can play it back and understand my emotions are running high right now? I might miss some of the things that you're saying. I don't know everything you're telling me is important. They should not mind. I'm not going to say that it should be within your right or that it is within your right, but it should be. So check that before you go. Know before you go.
Okay.
And there are advocates in the state that you can take with you. The parent mentors is it Parent to Parent is one organization you can check
Parent
with.
to Parent Georgia, yep.
Parent to Parent Georgia. I said this before that the Georgia Department of Education, Godot, used to have parent mentors for the state. You can access them. There used to be parent mentors for each district, at least 2 that had to be hired. I have not been in schools as a parent or an employee in a minute, so check that.
Okay.
Then there are also individual advocates around the state who might come at your behest, and if they cannot be in the room, they can be on the phone, and they can ask the questions that need to be asked, and they can also record the meeting.
I like that.
Y'all are colleagues in this work. Take another parent with you that can take the notes, because again, I'm heated. I might pop off.
Yeah.
Right. I might be hearing Bootsy in the background. Set it off. I might come in like that. I might come in hot. Right? So I need
home. Okay.
my other person to be the calming person because sometimes it's a team meeting and it's you. I hate that style of meeting.
Yeah,
It's
it could be
not
very
fair.
intimidating.
It's so
It's very
intimidating.
It's almost meant to be that
to the
way.
parent. It's like you, it's a game, and that's how you come in, and they should stop doing that,
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
But also, you bring your own game. You bring your team. Hey, mama. I used to take my mom in the meetings too. If I because my mother was a voice of reason for me, but also a former educator. She was in town, and we had a meeting, because she gonna sit up there with that old school teacher face, looking over her glasses like,
I love it.
I
love it.
baby, Lovey and Jai, I am judging you, ma'am.
Yeah.
And so I would do that. You heard me say I would advocate the current and the past husband, baby, because we all in. This is Team Buford. Everybody to the table. Yeah. So that's how I showed up. Document everything. Don't be afraid to ask for data, timelines, and follow up in writing. Because documentation beats what?
Conversation.
It's just
Every
like
time.
when we're advocating to meet. We're going to meet. We're going to be researched and ready before we go. We're going to meet, and then we're going to debrief after the meeting. And in my debrief, because you think of so much after the fact. You can't think of none of that stuff in there, even a quick comeback.
That's true.
Come on, a quick comeback.
No, it's true though.
No, stop.
Baby, I keep my wit in my right pocket. You're like, bam, like I'm playing spades. You said, what now? I said, I beg your pardon, I didn't hear you correctly. That'll make you think, yeah, come on and tone that down, right? Because I didn't come to play with you. Build relationships, though, with teachers and staff. Everybody from the bus driver to the cafeteria, managers. Advocacy means being both collaborative and firm. You don't have to be mean and you don't have to be nasty, but you do have to have a spirit of collaboration, and you have to stand firmly in what it is you believe. Because sometimes we start to acquiesce because we're listening to what the teacher is saying about our child, and then they just kind of disarm us. And you're like, well, I didn't even fight for my child now because I was so busy listening to it, because at home I noticed he is changing, but that don't mean he did that.
Yeah.
And you let them know, I appreciate you letting me know so much because I know we're partners in this, but I'm going to have to speak up because that's not a child that I see.
Yeah.
I don't see that behavior, and I'm wondering, is it stemming from something different than it's not maybe happening at home or that you're even doing, but something else that might be happening in his environment.
Yeah.
Right? And so I got some questions. Now I got a question for bus driver. And I got a question for the people in the cafeteria. Or, I'm wondering, is something happening at lunch, or I don't know when this, you said when it happens in your class, Miss Jones, but it'll happen in your class, Miss Smith. So then that's you got to become an investigative journalist, right? Baby, when they don't meet your needs, you got to document, push back, know where you can file formal complaints. Again, OCR, the Office of Civil Rights, has been severely diminished at the federal level, but it's still an Office of Civil Rights. I'm going to email and call everybody on anything, on the website, whatever I can find. In the state of Georgia, working with Godot, is there a local Office of Civil Rights? Who handles these things? ACLU, Urban League, NAACP. Call these folks to task, because this is the work that you do. I don't do this work. I'm not a specialist. I'm not an attorney. I don't do this, but I need some support.
Indeed.
And I need to know if you can help me, right? And knowledge is your leverage. Just doing a little bit of Googling and throwing some words around, you don't get to go in there and know. Just have it. I'm going to say this, I'm going to say that. Matter of fact, let me just go ahead and copy and paste that off of Google and put that in my notes and just put I in front of it. Well, when I looked it up, it said on the state website that blah, 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 blah. Because now I'm credible. I don't care if I got on a bonnet, a tank top, and some pajama pants. Don't judge me. I work at night. I'm tired.
I'm here.
I'm here. I'm present. Again, referring to the book I wrote, you don't have to be perfect. You just got to be present. You got to show up. I talk about that to mothers. You are not required to be perfect. You are required to be present. And my present and your present do not look the same. But I am here.
And that's what matters.
So a quick segue, I guess, from that would be And you spoke on it just a little bit of what they can do. So what can parents actually do when the school fails to meet their children's needs? So I won't get into my personal situation of what occurred, but I had to write a very strongly worded email and let them know, kind of who I was and who I was not and what we're not going to do with my children. Because there was one that, especially with them having IEPs, being autistic and stuff like that, let's not play with these two, not too much on these two. I'm not sure you shouldn't be doing it with anybody else's children, but especially not these right here. So what are we doing differently? So what's the follow-up when you feel like something like that hasn't been properly addressed? When you follow the protocol, the initial protocol, what are the next steps? What are some things that parents can do?
Again, document, rebut, push back. It's not final just because you say it, and it's not necessarily, even if it is in the even if it's a rule and a policy. If I feel like it was unjustly violated, there's no justification for violation. If it was unjustly implemented, being disciplinary actions that are taken, if you have violated this policy on my child, I am going to push back. And here's the thing, follow the chain of command, because that's always going to be the thing. Well, did you talk to the teacher? Well, then after that, what happened? Well, then did you talk to the assistant principal? Did you talk to... I have climbed the staircase to everybody appropriate. That is why I'm sitting here in the superintendent's office. And I expect to be heard, seen, talked to, acknowledged today.
Superintendent.
But the teacher, if there's a lead teacher, the assistant principal, the area superintendent, the superintendent.
And there's usually like forms or formal complaints and grievances that you can
There
also...
are formal complaints and grievances. An email is a formal complaint and grievance.
Well.
It's an email. It's coming from your email address, and it's signed, this is Miss Winters. And it is addressed to Mr. Jones, assistant principal. That is a formal complaint. When I have email, again, we go back to the handbook, 48 hours, 24 to 48 hours, response. If I say something's a problem for me, because I'm your client, I'm the customer, and you have gone 72 hours without addressing me or even acknowledging that you received my email, we already got a problem. You got a problem with me already. But, again, things happen. Something might have happened at the school. You might have been whatever. Hey, not sure if you noticed, today is Thursday and I emailed you Monday. Just trying to get a resolution here. Now, some things are not email. It is something that happened that you need your presence up at the school, and that is what you do. And then it is sometimes I'm dismissed, and then I got to take it. Some things require escalation. I'm not saying for everything. Some things don't, and you are the determinant of what that is. I'm not, and neither is the handbook.
Right.
Because if you get up and something happened, you want to drive up to the Board of Education that is also a public building, then that's your prerogative, right? You want to email it straight to the superintendent and BCC or CC all the people at the bottom to say, here is my version of the chain. Because this is serious and it needs to be taken care of now, right? And so there are different ways. File complaints, request formal evaluations. A lot of things are public record. If this person has violated this rule or this remarked student, what is this person's record? How many schools have they been to? How long have they been doing this? Are there any other complaints focused on this or this school or in this district? How many violations of IEPs and 504 plans has this area had? This district, this school, this person. You can find out in just about anything these days. Again, leverage state agencies, disability rights orgs, right? Other policy allies. That's why it's important to build relationships and go to things. I worked with an organization. This person used to just go to stuff when they felt like they had something coming up and they needed support. Support other people. You can't go to everything.
Right.
Hey, I see you had something, Tonya. I missed it. I had a schedule conflict I really want to support. Can you be sure? Because then sometimes when you're a small organization, I'm mad because you didn't come to my stuff. I went to yours. Hey, I want to support the next time. Let me know when the next thing is. Let me put on my calendar now. Because, I had twins, and that's a lot, right? Mm-hmm. But I constantly letting you know, how did it go? Oh, I see you. Do you need me to write a letter? You need me to respond? Is there somebody I can call? What's the follow-up?
Okay.
I wasn't able to be in the room, but put yourself in the group.
Okay.
Might not have been able to be there. When schools fail us, it's not just disappointing, it's a violation of our trust.
Yeah. Yes.
And we have to remind them that you have violated my trust in you to do a thing. And within any relationship, whether it is a sibling, a relative, the wife, husband, mate, partner, I'm not so easy to run back to trust you again based on the level of violation of this trust. And you need to know that I don't trust you anymore. And because I don't trust you, I don't feel safe. I don't feel safe sending my child to you. And that's a real thing. And that's the language we have to use.
Yeah.
I don't feel safe in this environment. I don't feel like my child is safe in this environment. Because now that didn't happen, but this is what could have happened from that. A child wanders out the school building. Well, no, they didn't get hit by a car, but they could have been hit, abducted. Anything could have happened. So we're not going to lead with, well, that didn't happen. We're going to lead with the possibility of all what could have happened and how deep now of a trust issue I have with the fact that you can even secure my child. And that's not, I'm not crazy. I'm not mad. I'm not angry. That is a real life response when you violate someone's trust. I'm not required to trust you again.
That part.
You have to earn it.
Yeah.
And I know it was a mistake, and we do make mistakes, and I forgive easily, but it does not negate the harm that it caused.
And the responsibility you have to bring restoration.
Yes.
And accountability.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And so I'm sorry does not do it. The change behavior is what does it. And our children are not guinea pigs and lab rats for you to experiment on how this could or might possibly affect them in the future. And I am the one that is here to protect them from that harm. And that's whom I'm acting on. I'm advocating on their behalf. I'm their representative. Right? You representing and defending the system, the teacher, the whatever, and I'm doing the same thing for this child.
Okay. So I think I'm going to ask maybe one more question, if that's all right with you. So... I like this one. What was one of the earliest moments when you felt you had to advocate hard for your child, even when the system pushed back?
Having male children hits real different when you're talking about public education. I have so many early memories of having to advocate for them. My oldest son played soccer. Wasn't a lot of. He graduated from high school in 2013. So when we moved back to this country, he was 8, and he was proficient in playing soccer because he had played soccer in Africa and in the Middle East. And all my friends were like, but he also has an arm and he can run. He should play football. But he plays soccer. But there were not a lot of boys that looked like him on the soccer teams that he played on or were coached by until he got on up. And I knew to actively seek out what I thought he needed. And so there were a lot of environments that he was in. Again, we had lived globally. And so being multicultural globally does not look the same as it does in America.
Right.
There it was far less, I can only recount maybe one time that they experienced racism as children, but was not prepared for how much they would experienced it once we moved to the South. As boys, because remember, I'm an only child and I'm a girl. And the way I now began to experience things, like I said, through their lens. And that's what this work has always been done from. And I'm sitting with that. Being judged. My oldest son, I remember there was something that he got into on his hall, and I worked at the middle school where they went to at the time. And, they would come to my office and get their lunch, and, several of us had kids at the school. And a white male teacher wanted to tell me about something that had happened on the 7th grade hall. Not my son's teacher. Had never taught either of my children that were there at that school. And he proceeded to say to me, your son walks around, maybe it's because you teach here or you work here, and he's very arrogant. And I couldn't even, it's like that little thing go boom in your ear, like when an explosion happened, you can't hear. I don't even know what the rest of what he said was. What I did attempt to do was not cuss him out.
Okay.
And not curse. I wasn't being cuss him out. I looked at him in his face, and he was a tall, big man. I said, it is funny to me how when black boys are able to show up in their power, their ability, and their confidence, it's seen as arrogance to you.
That part.
He is a child. He is a child. Say it again. Oh, man.
Oh, man.
Yeah, but what the...
He is a child. And for you to have unfairly made that assumption and even go as far as to make a comment to his mother?
Ooh, why are you bothered?
So what it said to me was several things. You really had a problem with me.
That part.
And how I showed up every day in my power, purpose, and confidence. I was kind. Everybody loved me. I was courteous. I was giving, supportive, all the things. But I also showed up every day in knowing who I am. In my power and my purpose. And that is how I operated every day. So what disrupted you was not only that I showed up like that she got some seedlings around here that's showing up the same. Well, I'd be, well, wait a minute.
How dare you?
How dare you? I've never seen that before.
How dare you and how dare he?
And I'm going to speak on it. And I said, don't you ever fix your mouth. I went way on back to Gertrude, my granny, Miss Gertrude.
Yes, Miss Gertrude.
Don't you ever fix your mouth to speak on, about, and for this matter, to my child, as long as he is attending school here. I said, furthermore, please expect to be brought into the principal's office because you out of pocket.
Period.
And if you don't know what that means,
you're going to find out. You're going to find out.
I can't say that on the air. And that ruptured me in a way where then I started to look around the building at other men in position and wondered, were they also viewing them the same way? A child in a school where they're supposed to be safe. And you don't even teach my child. Oh, you see him every day. You don't even know him. You don't teach on his hall.
Arrogant.
The nerve of you. And so what made him say that is that a teacher accused him of something and he advocated for himself. Because I'm his mama. And he got a daddy that does the same thing. And grandparents. So this 3 generations of power, purpose, and standing in the validation of I was valid when I came here.
Period.
And then I said, they're not safe at school. And what if I wasn't here? And then I would be the parent that you're telling a story to that is rooted in something else. And I mourned my child's, and I'm getting emotional. I mourned his innocence that day because he didn't get to be a child. Black children do not get to show up in innocence and joy and vulnerability and childhood? Who gives somebody else the right to tell them that they don't get to experience that?
Mm.
When I tell you there were so many other instances, one that I my middle, I have two sons who were tested gifted. One baby, he is going to go to law school. He's so high functioning, gifted, never wanted to miss a day in school. And bring some joy back into this conversation because now I'm ready to fight. He would run a thermometer under the faucet. Sir, you are burgundy. I know you sick. You have a fever. I'm almost about to take you to the doctor, but yet the thermometer says you don't have a fever. If you don't, take them school clothes off.
Now he doing the opposite of what kids normally do.
Baby, he said he got to get perfect. I ain't gonna be able to get perfect attendance. Sir, I might go to jail if I send you to school today. I said, Josh, you cannot go to school. You are sick. Baby, he had a fit. Within 5 minutes of taking that daggone Tylenol and getting to bed, that joker was asleep. So that's him. The other gifted child, baby, school, what day? I don't want to go. I don't care what they're doing. Are they throwing a party? Absolutely not. Now, are there some animals there? Some horses? Some
Are we doing
some
activities?
dogs? Are we outside all day? Mm-hmm. Sign me up.
Mm-hmm. I'll be there.
Traditional school, you can miss me with that. I ain't doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the test scores, the one teacher said, I'm looking at his CRCT scores, and I thought you asked me to tutor him. Have you seen his scores? Did they come in the mail? I said, they didn't. He said, let me show you. He said, this boy, he said, I could choke him. He's so intelligent, effortlessly. He ain't do nothing in my class all semester, and this what you do on the CRCT. They going to think I tampered with the scores. And that's that child. Mm-hmm. Well, this child gets to high school and decides, again, because I want to draw and paint all day and play with animals and be outside. I don't want to do this. Mm-hmm. So I ain't doing it. There might have been a slight indication when he came 13 days late that he was going to do what he wanted to.
That is hilarious.
And then proceeded not to want to come out. But so that's another story. And I said, I get a phone call about an SST meeting. And I said, for who? Are you the parent?
SST?
A SST meeting that you have called. And then I said, well, I work and I don't have time to. Well, we're going to have it with or without you.
Oh.
You said, what now? I said, okay. Again, who did I call? I posseed up. Mm-hmm. We sit in this meeting.
Oh, through the hard way.
Mm-hmm. Everybody. Mm-hmm. You coming from Delta. You coming from your job. Let's roll. And they're talking about my son that's sitting in this meeting, and then he starts to advocate for himself. And the SST coordinator then asked which one of the teachers has called this meeting, because clearly this child should not even be in this process. What are we doing? I just sat back and looked at the person who told me that the meeting would be had with or without me. I said, is the meeting adjourned so that you can talk amongst yourselves?
I know that's right.
Because I got to get back to work. I said, I do not expect any retribution on my son because folks have been embarrassed. Because people have egg on their face today. I'm watching. Have a nice day.
Period, per.
And another time, lastly, kids going to school in the north part of the county, and a male gets together all the kids who are from the south part of the county and proceeds to interview them and film it on his phone. A group of 16 and 15-year-olds and 17-year-olds who are not considered to be adults without the consent of their parent. And call them a gang because they all ride to school together and they hang together because they're from the same middle school neighborhood. Oh, okay.
Oh, Lord.
And said person was defended by the principal vehemently. That was her last year there.
I know that's right. Boom. That's how you do it.
I said, y'all almost won a lawsuit.
They did. They was asking for it, it sounded like.
And then after I've researched and printed out the history of this part of the county and black children, it is disproportionately lopsided versus anywhere else in the county. So now we got a bigger issue.
So he gathered them up,
In a nice
recorded them, and then called them gang members. Wow.
And this was an educator?
This was the assistant principal. Sanctioned by the principal. So she lost her job. He kept his. But he went on to another school very swiftly.
Wow.
Nah, he keep his, but she lost.
I know. Make it make sense.
I didn't make that decision.
They both
I didn't
left.
even call for her to lose hers. I said she's not equipped to be in charge of this particular population of students. Maybe she can be a principal somewhere else.
Yeah.
And because guess what? I documented it, and that wasn't the first time. Then something was done. I'm not saying I got her fired, but I pulled in facts that I researched and had the thick stack of all the black children that y'all have suspended, expelled, and things of that nature in this little area, as opposed to this big area over here. And so I've always been this person, but the beauty of who I am, I'm going just as hard for yours as I am for mine.
Yes. Community.
I love it. I love it.
Because then I had all the other parents to write about the incident.
So you might kind of, and you know that in our community we like, oh, stuff petty, but that ain't petty. That is purposeful. You understand what I'm saying? Because you got time today.
I like the hint's a little petty,
but that's okay
because the lady that called it.
But the egg on your face. Now what had happened? What had happened? You know, I like it. I'm here for it. I love it. I love that.
I can be Petty LaBelle when necessary.
Come on. I love that. And it's just, so thank you so much. I feel deeply inspired with that because I know that sometimes I can think of things that happen with my kids, even recently with this past school year. And I think they kind of, I hate to say this, but it's almost like they count on you being too busy.
Yep.
To
Yes.
To advocate and to show
Yes.
up.
The meeting times. How you going to demand I come to a meeting at 10 o'clock in the morning and I got a whole job?
Yeah.
But that's what this meeting was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why y'all can't stay after school and we do the meeting when I can come?
Right.
That's already dismissive.
Right.
It's saying that you don't value me. Your time is more important than mine. You don't care what I got to do. Mm-hmm. This has to happen during the school day while we have time to be here. Because we have other stuff to do. Okay.
Yeah. Whew. Well, we thank you so much for these rich examples and just so many. I'm like, if I had a T-shirt line, I'm gonna have to get with you. Because I got so many little tags from what you were saying. Like, documentation beats conversation is going to be it for me. That's going to be ingrained in the back of my mind.
It should be ingrained in every parent who has school-age children, but every person. Because that's with anything. We face so many injustices as a people, and especially in the country right now, housing injustice, right?
Oh, yeah.
Education injustice. You know, some people's religious freedom, their personal rights. People just, a right to work state means I can just let you go because I don't like you, right? But that's not necessarily what that means. You can fight back. And we don't because we don't think that we can.
Right.
And they put up so many hurdles for you to do
true.
so because they'll fire you and then try to block you getting from unemployment even if they didn't do right. Remember, you can sue them. Sue them. That's why you should document.
And well, see, here's the thing too. When you talk about suing, look up the tort reform that just passed in this state because the governor, said he wanted to protect big business here because people were suing, and I think Waffle House is one of the lead ones. Instead of, okay, but I'm just saying that it is a prevention from people being able to sue successfully. There's a lot more barriers now.
What?
People, insurance companies that don't do right by them, things like that. And it's couched under the tort reform.
That's why it's important to document when you're dealing with stuff at work, right? And not only document it, but file an EEOC complaint. Go through that route. Make sure you're following your chain of command, right? The ways that you're supposed to do everything. So you have that and they give that back. And once you get that back, and baby, you can go for the jugular. So all of that tort stuff, you okay, bye.
Yeah,
Let me go ahead and
because
do
you can lawyer up, and a savvy lawyer that understands. But the thing is, you have to have the paper trail.
You do.
Because
That's
the people telling them, they do themselves in. When people are not right, they're not just not right to you 9 times out of 10. That is a pattern. People have patterns, established patterns.
Yep.
Indeed,
Yeah.
indeed.
And especially when they feel so free to do the things that they do very easily.
Yeah.
That is a chink in their armor. And again, public records requests, documenting your experiences, searching out other people who've had experiences.
Yeah.
Social media, I'm not the biggest fan, but it can be like education, a great equalizer. Because all you got to do is put it up there and say, do you know any other people who
have had this experience? I love that when you brought it to the job piece. I know that we've been talking about parent advocacy, but that's a part of it too, because
It's advocacy.
It's
still
advocacy period in general, and it's very there's a lot of parallels between advocating in the school space and in the workspace and those things. So we thank you for that. So we want to know, because I'm sure with all you being such a wealth of information, I know that our listeners are going to want to connect with you. So can you please share with us 2 things? So it's a 2-part question.
Okay.
Final question for me. So what are you currently working on, and how can we get connected with you? How can we get connected with Tonya Winters?
Right now, I am working as the founder and principal consultant of LB Winters Consulting, a business I started in 2013.
Okay.
Revised in 2017, because again, one of the things about working in education and advocacy work, it is not usually work that it's not work that we go into for the money, right? So I've always kept this part of the work for me to be able to do the thing I love and also monetize the thing that I love, right? I'm currently doing state advocacy work, developing tools for parent organizers, trainings and professional developments for organizations that need advocacy work, a lot around parents understanding their rights, but also the people who work with parents, right? Be they state agencies or whatever, understanding the parents' educational rights too, because they become a part of that child's team, and everybody needs to be up on what knowledgeable about what is happening with the education system, how they navigate it. It's not always an easy thing to navigate. Right. The other thing is the Mommy Chronicles. I became a published author a year ago on Mother's Day, right? And we all have a book here. If we want to hold the book up, we can take a picture with it too. And so the Mommy Chronicles is my love letter to motherhood. It is a journal of where moms can go and just take a little hide in it. When I was growing up, used to be a commercial called Calgon, Take Me Away. Well, this can take you away. There are affirmations in here for you. There are affirmations that you can color. It is a journal for you to write your experiences from A to Z. I invite mothers, grandmothers, aunts, whoever, dads, get in here too, and reflect on the unbreakable bond that you have with your child, but also I talk in here a lot about giving yourself grace and space. As women, we've been taught to carry the weight of the world, juggling family life as mothers, wives, partners, daughters, and CEOs. But if all you could do was get up this morning and get the kids out the door and keep your pajamas on and keep your sanity in check because you don't feel like adulting today, that's a great day because you've given yourself the space to give yourself some grace to be able to pull it together. Again, we don't have to be perfect. We just have to be present. And so I'm working on the affirmation deck of cards for the book.
Beautiful.
And some other merchandise, as well as working on another little pet project with some other folks, some little startups. And so I am living in my best creative space right now, enjoying my life, enjoying the freedom that my decisions are giving me. And yeah, that's what I'm up to. You see me about town.
Love it.
Okay. So how do we get connected to you? Any social media?
Yeah, so I am Tonya Winters on Instagram. That's it. I am Tonya Winters. Tonya Winters on Facebook.
And that's Tonya with the O, y'all. Tonyya.
Tonya at LB Winters Consulting. Or I'm sorry, Tonya at lbwintersllc.com. Tonya at lbwintersllc.com is the email that you can find me at. My website, which was just up and running, I switched host and they haven't gotten their stuff together. And when that is back, lbwintersconsulting.com. I'm also on LinkedIn at Tonya B. Winters.
Okay.
And listen, shameless plug, if you would like to bless someone with this book, you can find it on Amazon at the Mommy Chronicles, Mommying from A to Z, right? A journal of love, reflection, and my ode to motherhood. Everything I wished I'd had when I was raising my children. But now I'm raising my one amazing and one and only grandchild, which is also a boy.
Aww.
So I am a boy mom through and through. And it's a pleasure to be able to do the things that I love now. Because now I'm back in the fight from the beginning again. He is getting to graduate from pre-K. And getting ready to start school. And so it's advocacy on a whole nother level with a whole lot more knowledge than I ever had before and a whole lot more intensity. Yeah.
Okay.
This has been so fun.
Thank you so much, Tonya. We appreciate you, and thank you all for listening.
Yes,
Thank you all for listening. I hope that I was able to help someone with a little bit more of an understanding or something that they didn't know, right?
I'm sure you have.
I'm sure.
Help me. I am someone. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
I am
Thanks,
somebody.
ladies.